Hello and welcome to 2021. This is episode 304 of my podcast, Who's Paying Attention? I told my friend Marcus Miller, the composer and artist who does Detroit, the theme song for the podcast, to get ready to kick ass in 2021. And he said, I'm shining up my ass kicking shoes. I love that. That's how we start this year. I'm shining up my ass kicking shoes. I wish it were different. I wish we had a new year and a whole new reality, but nope. New year and same old stupid. Now, I'm sure you've heard, if not the phone call, you've heard of the phone call that Trump made with Secretary of State of Georgia and a few other people on the call. And he basically said, you need to find 11,700 some odd votes so that he could win the state of Georgia. This is at best tampering with an election, at worst treason. And but what I mean by at worst is, if a Democrat had done it, it would be high treason. They'd be looking to hang him from a tree and all of that. Instead, the Republicans are gathering around Trump and this nonsense. So Wednesday, January 6th, is when Congress and the Senate are supposed to ratify the election results from the Electoral College. And I think it's the last step in officially making Joe Biden the next president. But these Republicans don't want to do it. Now, besides being utterly ridiculous and all these accusations of fraud being shut down by the courts because of zero evidence. The courts say it over and over. Judges who were appointed by Trump and his Republican Party, there is zero evidence of voter fraud. But besides all of that, the Republicans, these are the ones who are always talking about states' rights. The states' rights to ban abortion. The states' rights to ban gay marriage. The states' rights to legalize any form of gun or weapon you want. Oh, states' rights, states' rights, states' rights. What about the state's right to vote for president? Oh, no, we'll handle that. We'll handle. That's basically what they're saying. They're saying that the Congress and the Senate can take away a state's vote, whether that state be Georgia or Pennsylvania or Michigan or any other state, and say, no, we didn't like the results, so we're going to change that for you. That's what they're saying. Needless to say, well, first of all, the Democrats would never do that. They just couldn't organize, and they don't walk in lockstep the same way. But just imagine that. And look at who's doing it. Look who's leading it. Ted Cruz, a man who 4 years ago on record called Trump a narcissist and a pathological liar, now has his nose so far up Trump's ass. I think the beard is just to catch whatever comes out, but he's not the only one. Republican senators are involved, like Senator Johnson from Wisconsin, Lankford from Oklahoma, Steve Daines from Montana, Kennedy from Louisiana, Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee, Mike Braun from Indiana, etc., etc. There's a long line. Wow. Geez. I cannot certify the Electoral College results on January 6th without raising the fact that some states, particularly Pennsylvania, failed to follow their own state election laws. This is from Senator Hawley, a Republican from Missouri. So, and of course, Senator Toomey, another Republican from Pennsylvania, says that these objections are an effort to disenfranchise millions of voters in my state and others. And they go back and forth. This is amazing. This is how far their noses are up Trump's ass. This is how worried they are. One of them is worried that Loeffler and Perdue in Georgia, who are in the Senate runoff, are worried that Trump might tweet angrily at them if they don't support this nonsense. Ooh, might be a bad tweet. These are grown adults. These are senators. That used to mean something, honestly. That used to mean something. Trump's phone call to Georgia, once again, unbelievable. And of course, they're mad that it was recorded. Not that he said it, that it was recorded. Borderline treason. Okay, and then these clowns, and of course we don't know how the protests are going to be because they've called on the Proud Boys and their other idiots to run the streets and all of that. At the same time, all of this is going on. Trump's hotel in Washington, D.C. did triple the price for rooms on the night of the inauguration, because the city's going to be crowded. The followers of this cult are beyond belief. You can't argue with this. There's no basis for argument because none of it is based in reality. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. But it's not. So like I say, new year, but now, I've always talked about Covidiots since I first heard the term. And I've said forever, you can't fight stupid. Stupid don't get tired. Stupid is hard at work. Right now, you're listening to me. You might be talking to the family. But just stupid is at it. So I've gotten on the red states, justifiably so. But don't think California is without sin. Don't think we don't have homegrown Covidiots here where I live. This new thing going on, they call themselves the stampeders. And what they're doing, and by the way, this is beyond privilege, and I'll explain why, but these groups of angry white people, 20, 30, maybe 50, whatever the group is, are going to these high-end malls and stores and literally just marching through without their masks, yelling and whining about their rights and blah, blah, blah. Now, okay, let's break this down. First of all, the fact that they're doing, like the two malls that they hit, the Grove and Century City Plaza, for those who don't know, are two of the most expensive malls here in LA. Century City Plaza is what we call Beverly Hills adjacent. There's no mall in Beverly Hills. This is the closest one to Beverly Hills. And the Grove is like the hip, young, high-end outdoor mall. These are anchored by stores like Bloomingdale's and Nordstrom and a bunch of boutiques and all. I've been to both. They're nice. They're very nice, actually. They're very nice. The Grove has a lot of eating outdoors. It has a train that runs through it. It's one of those original outdoor malls where what they do is they tear down all the mom and pop stores and then they build this mall and fill it with fake mom and pop stores. You've seen it. They're doing it all over the country. This is one of those malls. So these people are going into these places without their masks saying, I know my rights and I'm an American. Okay, first of all, stupid. They're private businesses. Stores are private enterprises. And just like they have a sign that says no shoes and no shirt, no service, they can also have a sign that says no mask and you're not allowed to enter. Besides the fact that the mask, I'll use the word mandate or recommendation or whatever, is coming from the government, coming from the governor's office. Yeah, I know Governor Newsom's a jerk off on this. He blew his credibility, but it comes from there. It comes from the mayor's office. It comes from the city council. It comes from health departments, wherever. But the other thing is, a store is allowed to say no if you don't follow their rules. Just imagine protesters. Imagine the store, baked cakes for gay weddings, right? These people are unbelievably stupid. But the worst part is how many people they're putting at risk with their little protests. And the reason I say privilege, because who's not protesting wearing a mask? People who are worried about paying their rent. People who can't buy enough food. People who have more month than money, especially now because they're not getting a stimulus check, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But these are the people who they don't have time to worry about not wearing a mask when they go to Bloomingdale's. Okay? So just fuck off, you idiots. And of course, they're putting people at risk. And here's the thing. This is what really bothers me. Where are the police? Where are the police? It's funny how when white people, quote, protest in some rich area, whether it be these idiots or Kirk Cameron having his little sing-along outside of the mall in Thousand Oaks, another high-end Southern California area, the police seem to forget their billy clubs, and they seem to have misplaced their rubber bullets and their tear gas. They can't seem to find any of these things for these protests. It's kind of funny how that works. Maybe if we could get some people of color involved in these protests, but see, people of color generally don't have this level of privilege and stupidity. They're generally on the other end of it. So they don't, they're not going to get involved in this. Where are the police? Where's law enforcement? Yeah, they'll stand and block the door, or they'll do, but they're not busting these protests up the way they did Black Lives Matter protests last summer and other legitimate protests by people who are actually suffering harm. I can't go to Bloomingdale's without my mask on. Damn it, the world's not fair. Covidiots and the worst of humanity. And I say again, if you don't wear a mask, you should not get the vaccine. It should be that simple. You don't want to wear a mask? Fine. You don't get a vaccine. What a way to thin the herd. Couldn't we get rid of a lot of stupid that way? On the topic of privilege and garbage, because this is a garbage person. So they found out the woman who attacked 14-year-old boy, Kenyon Harold Jr., at the Arlo Hotel in New York. She literally tackled this kid saying, you stole my cell phone. Her name is Maya Ponsetto. She also from Southern California. She's from an area called Sun Valley. She has been charged with a crime. She has not been arrested, which is funny because they know who she is and where she is, but they don't arrest her. Not sure how that works. It's been shown. The phone, she left the phone in an Uber. She's got a history of crazy behavior in public, drunk driving and other stuff like that. Of course, she cried and said, "That's not me. I don't know, blah, blah." Yeah, right. Good on Kenyon Harold Sr. for being smart enough, and I've heard his music and I've met friends of his. He's a good man. But being smart enough to know that he couldn't physically attack her. Now, listen, a lot of parents will tell you, you attack my kid, this is like with mothers, right? This is you don't mess with Mama Bear. You attack my 14-year-old kid, I beat the hell out of you. So good for him on not doing that, because, and he knows the cops would have shown up and they would have shot him. That's just how it works. And then they would have asked, by the way, what happened? So he was smart enough to know that. The hotel wasn't. The hotel protected her. She attacked his kid in the lobby of the hotel, and the hotel protected her. I'm going to say this one more time for those in the cheap seats. She attacked his kid in the lobby of the hotel, and the hotel protected her. Karen to the power of Karen. Karen squared. And this is why Karens exist, by the way, because the entire system's designed to protect Karen no matter what she does. So we'll see how it plays out if she gets arrested. The hotel gave him an apology, probably maybe offered him a few free nights. Who knows? Oh, Jesus. It continues. Welcome to 2021. So Mitch McConnell, and I actually heard a joke I rather enjoyed. The blue whale can open its asshole. Sorry to be disgusting, but the blue whale can open its asshole to 3.5 feet, making it the second largest asshole in the world behind Mitch McConnell. So Mitch McConnell said when they asked for $2,000 stimulus checks instead of $600 stimulus checks, he called that socialism for the rich. So someone who's much smarter than me, Robert Reich, Secretary of Labor under Bill Clinton, a professor at University of California, Berkeley, guy who probably knows something about money and government, because that's so. He said, he showed mathematically the tax cuts for the rich that Trump passed in 2017, that money could give every working adult in America a $1,875 stimulus check for 8 months. Let me say that again. The money that they spent on the tax cut for the rich. Remember, McConnell saying this is socialism for the rich and our grandkids shouldn't have to pay for stimulus now. This is what he's saying. Suddenly he cares about deficit. The deficit spending that they did to cover the tax cuts for the rich, for the 1% in 2017, are enough money for every working adult in the United States of America to get a stimulus check of $1,875 for 8 months. You could get $1,875 a month for 8 months for the amount of money that they gave to the 1% on these tax cuts. The tax cuts cost $2.3 trillion over the next 10 years. That's the price of those tax cuts. How good were these tax cuts? Now, remember, we're talking about socialism for the rich, right? So let's look at some numbers. This tax plan, the bottom 80%, that would be you. That would be you and me and everyone we know, will save between $50 and $450 in taxes a year. That's what that 2017 tax cut. You save between $50 and $450 in taxes a year. Top 1% saves $129,000 a year. So you could save $450. The 1% saves $129,000. But given people who are out of work during this coronavirus, a pandemic, the kind of thing that the government is built for. I say this over and over again. Shut up with your small government and all that nonsense. The purpose of the government is for the common good. And when something like this happens, a pandemic, this is the government's job. And yeah, they're not a business. They're not supposed to make money. They pay for shit that no one else wants to pay for, like a stimulus to keep people alive, keep things going, help the economy, etc., etc. That is what the government does. That is what the government does. I don't know why people can't understand that. How does it do it? Well, it could do it by giving all these out of work, middle class, working class people, et cetera, $2,000 a month. But instead, it does it by giving the 1% $129,000 a year. And yet, these same working people, the quote, middle America working white man, that mythical guy that they're talking about, I don't know, maybe he's Joe the plumber. I'm reading Barack Obama's book, and I just read the part. Remember Joe the plumber, who wasn't even a plumber? That's the mythical working white man. They're still voting for the Republicans. Good for you. Good for you. And the numbers go on and on. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because they're going to be protesting January 6th that Trump should still be president. I don't know. Maybe they have some more money laying around somewhere. How can you vote rich when you're working class? Forget about poor. If you're working class, if you're just a working American, and McConnell's mad about people who make $250,000 a year, which in some places is a fortune, but in other places it's just a upper middle class money. Here in LA, $250,000 puts you in upper middle class. New York, San Francisco, cities like that, $250,000 puts you upper middle class. Chicago, it costs a lot more to live. You can say I'm mad about that because I live in Boise and it's much cheaper. But you pay less to live in Boise. It costs less to live it. That's just how it is. Yeah. Remember the good old days? Remember the good old days? Remember when New Year's we would just be talking about some stupid new laws were passed, like, somewhere where you can't chew gum at a red light or I don't know, you can't walk a bison down Main Street. You know how every year at New Year's there's always these lists that are crazy, stupid laws, and yeah, remember that? Nah, instead we're talking treason and Covidiots, and I am not going to leave you guys on bad news. This is something I'm going to try to do. I'm going to try to find some good news every podcast. I'm going to talk to you more about, I told you I was going to announce something. I'm going to talk to you a little more about that. But you know what story I read that I think was pretty cool? So, athletes have all kind of bonuses and this, that, and other in their contracts. Well, David Moore, who's a wide receiver for the Seattle Seahawks, had a thing in his contract about if he catches 35 passes, he gets a $100,000 bonus. He had caught 34 passes, so in garbage time of the game, instead of Russell Wilson taking a knee and ended the game, he tossed a 5-yard pass to this guy, so the guy would get a $100,000 bonus. That's great. You know why? That's nice, because Russell Wilson, he makes millions. His contract's guaranteed. He's a quarterback, blah, blah, blah. And Russell Wilson said it's a blessing to be able to help his family and his daughter and all of that, because this wide receiver doesn't make that kind of money. And to him, $100,000 is a lot of money. I know in sports, $100,000 don't sound like much, but it is to this guy. And that's great. Good for him. On my personal happy place news, I'm a big fan of Lewis Hamilton, Formula One world champion. Well, he will be knighted this year. He is now known as Sir Lewis Hamilton. I think that's great. 8-time world champion. He should be. And I'm going to wish you luck on your New Year's resolutions. I don't know what yours is. Mine, I talked about it on one thing. I said, be kind. I wish we could do that. I wish we could be better, just nicer to each other. Maybe not storm through a mall without our mask on, yelling about our civil law rights. Maybe just be nice to one another. But, I'm going to aim lower, man. I want to just wear clothes again. I remember wearing clothes. I remember when I didn't wear sweats all day, every day. I'm home. My January's pretty much canceled. I have scheduled a show in Hasbrook Heights, which is just across the George Washington Bridge from New York and New Jersey. And with these numbers, I doubt it's going to happen. But we'll see. So, yeah. So if I can get out of sweatpants, that'll be a pretty good start to the year. I ain't got fat, people. Time to work on that. I hope to announce something to you soon. It's not done. We're working on an agreement. Once it's done, I will let you know what's going on with me, but there will be some changes in 2021. I am confident of that. I wish you luck. I wish you safety. I wish you happiness. I wish you a happy new year. Shine up your ass-kicking shoes and let's kick 2021 in the ass. Who's paying attention? You are. I appreciate it.